Hey guys, in this video we will be deploying our PHP primer website to Heroku, and we'll be doing that by synchronizing it with our GitHub repository. Now, just a reminder, Heroku is a web hosting platform. What they do is offer platform as a service where they contextualize the hosting offering based on the type of code you upload. So on the website, which you can get to at heroku.com, you'll notice that they are advertising support for quite a few languages. So far, we have Node.js, Ruby, Java, PHP, Python, Go, and some other ones. All right. So the fact is, you just spin up what you call a bucket, and you put your code there and they do the rest. Infrastructurally, they configure the servers in the backend. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just put your site there, and with very minimal effort, you can have a website up and running on Heroku. Now, if you haven't already done so, you can firstly navigate to heroku.com and create an account by clicking sign up. And it's a relatively simple process to get signed up. Just a bit of information here, and then you're ready. And if you already have your account, you can just go ahead and log in. Now, when you log in, you're led to your dashboard where you would see all of your applications. If this is your first time, then you'll have an empty dashboard. It's not my first time because I actually have deployed things here before. And even if you don't have anything, that's fine, because we'll be doing a fresh one now anyway. So the first thing you want to do is click new, and then we're going to create an app. Next, you want to give your app name, your app a name. And the thing is that for the free distribution of this, or the free use of Heroku, you're going to get a subdomain, meaning whatever your app name is, .herokuapp.com. So in other words, you can't use the exact app name I'm going to use here, and I'm just going to use an app name that I think it doesn't exist already. So your app name needs to be unique. What you can do to probably personalize it is put your name on it. So I'm just going to say PHP-primer- and my name is Trev, so I'm just going to say Trev, and that is available. So if you put in one that is not available, once again, just try and put something there to personalize it so that you can share it with others and they would automatically and instantly figure that it's your own. All right. So php-primer-trev, that's what I have, and that is available. And I can leave my region on the US, but if you're closer to Europe, then you can toggle that as you need to. And then I'll just create an app. Now, having done that, I'm led to this page where they're giving me deployment guides and asking me if I want to add this to a pipeline. So I think pipelines will start to cost money. So the next section asks us what method do we want to use to deploy. So we can use the Heroku Git CLI commands, and we would have gone through using the Git commands from command prompt from the Git interface, the CLI, and the commands are pretty much the same. You just log in, which this would prompt you to actually put in your credentials in the command line, and then you go to your project wherever it would be. So that would be c/zam/htdoc/ your folder, or whatever it is in your context, and then you git init, and then you add what you call a remote, which is like a connector to this bucket or this app space that we just created. And then the next few commands would actually just synchronize between your existing Git project and Heroku. So it's just like pushing things to GitHub using your command line interface. It's the same concept, pushing things to Heroku using that command line interface. So that's one way you can do it. If you choose that method, that's fine. I'll create another video where I do it that way. But for this video, we're going to choose another method, which is to connect to GitHub. Before I move on though, if you would have already added your project to GitHub, it means that you already have the Git repository existing. All right. So you already ran the Git init, and you already synchronized with GitHub and all of these things. So you would have already created some Git repository inside that project. So you wouldn't have to go through all of this. I think, well, you would have to go through this, but then what you would do after that is just add the remote. So the remote is just a connector. So I think right now the remote would be origin to connect you to GitHub. Then you just add another remote called PHP primer. All right. Well, yeah. So essentially, that's how you would do that using the command line interface. And of course, you have to download and install that command line interface connector. All right. But then today we're going to be using GitHub. So I just click GitHub, connect with GitHub, sorry. And then I'm already logged in. So if you're not logged in, then you can just connect to your repository here. Meaning I'm already logged in, meaning I'm already logged into GitHub in my browser. So you would just log into GitHub through whatever interface they allow you here. And then once that connection is established, they will ask you which repository would you like to deploy. So the repository that we have been working with is PHP-primer. So I just type that in, search, and it's going to bring back that repository. And then I'm just going to say connect. Now, once that connection is done, then this whole section changes to show that, and I can actually see all of the activities on that repository. So we would have uploaded our first one, and then we changed something else just to show how we synchronize with GitHub. So as many changes as you commit to your GitHub repository, they can be viewed right here in Heroku also. Now, the next section talks about automatic deploys. So each time you upload to GitHub, you or your team member, you upload to that, what we call the master branch, meaning the central place where everybody's code comes together to make the final product. Then you can actually enable automatic deploy. So as soon as you publish something to the master branch, it will automatically update it here on Heroku, so you wouldn't have to come back here and repeat this process each time. Now, you have to be very careful with this, of course, because the good programmers or developers don't publish things to master unless they have tested it and it has gone through all the quality checks, and then master represents the final product. So if you're experimenting with something, then what you would do is create a branch, and then you run all your experiments on this branch, and then you request your team lead to consolidate this branch into what we call the master branch. All right. So if we enable automatic deploys and we say always deploy the master branch, that means that it's going to assume that once something hits the master branch, this is now a very, very, very quality assured version of the software, and that is what it will make available to the public. So you have to be very careful and deliberate with your master branch, and especially if you're going to enable automatic deploys. Well, I'm not going to enable automatic deploys. I'm just going to manually deploy. So I'll manually go down to the manual deploy section, and I will say I want to deploy the master branch. So we haven't looked at how to branch and merge in Git as yet, and that's going to come up. But for now, we can just manually deploy. So we'll deploy branch, and then we give it a few minutes or moments, and you'll see that it's kind of doing some stuff. It's getting all the libraries, and we give that a few moments to finish. All right, so now it's successfully deployed. So if you see a green tick here, that means it was successfully deployed and you're good to go. And then the next step would be to view your app. So you can just click this, and that will launch in another tab your website that you've been working on. So in this case, we've been working on PHP-primer. It's not the most elegant website. It's just something to get us au fait with all the basic PHP codes and commands. But let's just take a step back and pretend that this was a real website. You just built a site in PHP. You have all the pages, and you wired up everything, your navigation, your Bootstrap, your layout, everything. And with just 3 steps in literally less than 5 minutes, you now have it on the internet. So that is my address on the internet for this app. And I'll leave this app up so that you can type it in your browser when you're watching this video and browse to my app. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is make an adjustment to this site, an obvious enough adjustment so that we can see the difference between what we've changed on our computers, what we commit to GitHub, and then how we update it here on Heroku. So now I bring up my code file, and I'm just going to create an anchor tag right here underneath all these buttons. So you can do this with me. And I'm just going to make this one navigate to heroku.com. All right. And I'm just going to put in my href. And one thing to note with the external links, I always put in the fully qualified HTTPS, if necessary, ://website.com. All right. So that's one thing that I always try to do. And then since we're using Bootstrap, the great thing is that we can actually style our anchor tag. And I'll just take a preview of this quickly. So this is what it looks like. All right. So it's just a link. But then if I want it to look like one of these buttons, I can actually add all of this CSS to it. So I'm going to make it a red link. All right. So the Bootstrap class for a red button would be, I think it is danger. And if I go back and take a look, refresh, and there we go. So my link now looks like a button. So now you don't know which one is just a button or which one is just a link. So if you want your links to look like this, then you can actually use all of the button classes the same way. And now just to verify that my link works, when I click it, it should navigate me away to Heroku.com. And I'm going to make one more adjustment because I don't like when a button navigates away from my website. So I'm just going to say target. So this is another HTML attribute that you can use. And this one says target _ blank as the value. And with that done, and I'll just refresh again. When I click, it will always open up that content in another tab and my website will remain. All right. So this is the adjustment that we just made to our website. And I'm going to look back at what's on Heroku. And obviously I haven't pushed anything new. So the old version is still on Heroku. So my first order of business is to update my repository. So I'm going to bring up GitHub quickly. So I'm opening up my GitHub desktop app. And the first thing it shows me is the fact that I've made a change to my index.php and it highlights the change. So for as many pages and as many pages as you have and as many changes as you're going to make, GitHub will always show you what was done and ask you what you want to do with it, right? So I'm just going to say added link to Heroku. All right, so when another developer comes along, he can see exactly the change that I at least claim to have made. I could make the change and it wasn't done successfully or whatever, but at least for accountability, each person, GitHub requires that each time you're going to check in a change, you have to state what was done. It might give you a default, but I like to be very specific so that other people can come and benefit from my version or account of the events. All right, so then I just go ahead and commit to master. All right, and that's step one. So that was me committing to my local Git repository. Now I need to, what we call push origin. So earlier I talked about the remotes or the connectors. The connector for GitHub is usually by default origin. The connector for the Heroku is relative to your app, or I think, well, Heroku is what they call it. But I'm just showing you that you can have multiple connectors. So I'm just going to push to origin. And this will take a few minutes depending on the speed of your internet and how many changes you're checking in. And this is done. All right. So if I go to github.com, I had my profile open, and I look in PHP Primer, then you're going to see that I made a change to index page, and that is the last change 1 minute ago. All right. So it always kind of gives an indication as to what was done to what file. And if you're working in a team, it goes as far as saying who did it. All right. So the next thing would be to actually synchronize that with my Heroku website. So if I go back to my Heroku website and I refresh, you notice there is nothing that's changed because one, I didn't enable automatic deploys. So that's one of the things that automatic deploys would do. But once again, there are dangers in doing it that way. You have to make sure that your quality is always on par. So for a personal project, sure, but I'm not going to do it in this video. I'm going to now go and deploy branch again. And then by clicking deploy branch, it's going to go and get the latest set of files from this branch in GitHub and run all of the updates. And in a few moments that should be done. And when I view my site again, it now has the latest version of what of what my site is. All right. So now I have this button. So if I go back and make a change, and for as many changes as I'm going to make, I will check them into GitHub. And I encourage you in a team setting to always check things into GitHub. And you could designate one person who is in charge of handling the deploy. And the deploy should only happen after this one person, whether it's the technical lead or a QA person or your DevOps person, after they have seen and tested and done their quality check to make sure that everything is still in order, whatever was working still works after your changes, and whatever it is you claim to have changed actually works, then you deploy here. Of course, machinery can be set in because you see that they're asking if you want to wait for CI to pass to deploy. So there are a number of things that go into the automatic deployments. And this video is not going to cover all of those little things. So that's why I'm avoiding using the automatic deploys. But at least from this video, you know how to get your code from your machine into a central repository where all changes can be made, can be stored and logged, and then how to deploy to Heroku for the wider internet. And like I said, you would get a subdomain on your site, or you get your site on a subdomain rather. So you have whatever the app name is, .herokuapp.com, and you can actually go ahead and pay for a custom domain if you are at the stage where you want to do that. So now I'm just going to give you a tour of the other tabs quickly. So from the overview tab, once you have the app selected and you go to the overview tab, they'll show you that you have add-ons that you could install. So like a MySQL database, that would be an add-on, and they give you little apps that you can just put into your project and just pay a monthly fee. So you don't have to buy it one time. If you don't have all that money, you just pay monthly for the use of it. The dynos would be like how many instances of your website. So maybe now you only have 50 users, it's fine. But when you scale to 500 users, then you probably need to add more dynos so you can handle that increased traffic. And then you might not be the only person working on your site. So you can actually manage the access to the site or to your app and add collaborators. So each tab kind of speaks directly to that. So to add more dynos, of course, that's going to cost a bit of money. Deploy, we just went through that. Metrics, you have to add your credit card so you can actually view the metrics of your site, see the peak usage, the baseline, those kind of things. The activity shows, like I said earlier, all of the changes being made. So you can actually roll back to here if needs be. So maybe you deployed, and when it went into what you call production, which is the actual site accessible over the internet, it had some errors and bugs and so on. So you could actually just roll back to the point in time where you know these issues were not while you work on it. So Heroku makes that very, very easy, and it's almost transparent to the user. Access, that's to add more collaborators. And then in settings is where you can edit or change the name of your app. Once again, the app name has to be available for that to occur. You can look at some other little information about what kind of stack, and you see it automatically detected the framework needed, how much size you have available to you, your repo that it is currently synchronizing with, and the what you call a Git remote for the Heroku connector. And you can actually from here get that domain and an SSL cert. So you can actually do everything here. It's like a one-stop shop. You don't have to run to GoDaddy and go there and go there. You can do everything here. Of course, you may want to shop around for costing. And then if I wanted to transfer ownership, I could actually just choose somebody else, maybe another collaborator. I'm no longer team lead, somebody else is team lead, so I can transfer ownership of it to them. There's also a maintenance mode, so maybe while the system is being worked on or you're working out the bugs, you can put it into maintenance mode where it is not accessible over the internet. All right, so you see that they're warning you it will be unavailable, and I can go ahead and enable or cancel that. All right, and then at the end of it all, you can always delete the app. And they try to ask you, are you sure? And you have to retype this. So it has to be a very, very, very deliberate effort to delete this app, at which point you would have lost all of your content from Heroku and the actual container space. So that's it for today on how to get your app onto Heroku and what Heroku offers. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to drop me a line. I'm going to go ahead and create another video where we look at more things and more possibilities.